Hi, everybody. Okay, we are pretty excited because tonight, uh, live from Los Angeles, I'm in Los Angeles too, we're going to be talking to Amy Schneider. Okay, you guys are your Jeopardy fans. I know you are because I got a lot of questions from you all. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Here, play the music. Yeah, we got a little sound effects. We're going to be talking to Amy Schneider. She is on a massive role on Jeopardy. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Oh, wait, I think I saw Amy. Hold on. Hold on. Here, hold on. Yes. Okay. We're going to be talking to Amy about her incredible Jeopardy run. She is now at 36 victories. We don't know what happened tonight, but I'm assuming that'll probably be 37. Um, Hi, Amy.
Hi.
How are you? So nice to see you.
Likewise, I'm doing well.
Well, first of all, congratulations. You are on fire on Jeopardy. I was just kind of giving your brief rundown about how well you're doing. Right now, you're at 36 victories. We don't know what's going to happen tonight, but we'll all be watching, obviously. You're the
Mhm.
first woman to win more than $1 million. You're making you the most successful female contestant on Jeopardy, and you're the first transgender contestant to place in the show's iconic Tournament of Champions. So, Amy, we're going to give you a round of applause. I made Adriana find all these sound effects. So, here, hold on. Congratulations, Amy. So, first of all, I mean, we've got so many questions from my followers on social media, and
Mhm.
someone just said, Amy, we love you. We're really enjoying your run. You are getting a lot of love out there, Amy. First of all, I mean, how does it feel to be so celebrated for your incredible accomplishments?
It's I mean it feels good. It's been a surreal experience these last couple of months. And I had some anticipation coming in that there might be, potentially a lot of negativity and things like that, and I've been really just overwhelmed by how little negativity there's been and how so much positive. It's been really great. I was saying early on, it's like all of a sudden now there's like apps on my phone like Twitter where I can just open them up and see a bunch of strangers saying nice things about me, which is a nice thing to have.
It's so reassuring. I think, we've gone through such a hard time in this country and with COVID and with so many other things going on. It's just wonderful to be able to celebrate. And I have to say, I am heartened and encouraged that that so many people are celebrating you and appreciating you and really cheering you on. Well, let me ask you some questions if I could. I asked you how you felt, and you just told me. Here's some other questions. You know, how stressful is it? Because, I wondered if you're exhausted after every show because it is a very tense situation. To say you have to be at the top of your game is an understatement. So how are you feeling? Are you completely energized or are you exhausted?
Well, I mean, I would say that one thing about it is that they tape 5 episodes in a day,
Right.
so by the end of that, I am definitely exhausted. But during the game itself, like even if I was feeling tired before it, I don't really notice. Like you have to be so focused on what's going on and ready to answer the next question, and it moves so fast. As soon as you answer something, there's another clue coming, and you've just got to keep your concentration on that, and there's just no time to be tired.
Do you ever draw a blank? I'm always so afraid that my nerves are gonna get the best of me and I'm just gonna draw a blank and be like, even if I know the answer, I'm just gonna be like, biddy, biddy, biddy.
Yeah, I mean, certainly I draw blanks sometimes. There was one on last night's show, I think it was, where it was the Olmecs, and I was watching it at home being like, come on, you know this. Why didn't you ring in there? But I think that's generally not been stress. It's just that that's how the human brain works. The one place I think that has happened is in Final Jeopardy. I think, when it's a situation where I've wagered a lot of money on it, and I don't immediately know the answer, I have kind of gone into panic mode a couple times, and you know, that's no way to think, and it hasn't been helpful. So that's something
Yeah.
I need to work.
Well, somebody asked if you change for each game, and you know, and I should mention that you do change between shows. So
Mm-hmm.
it's funny. That's sort of like a little secret of Jeopardy, that you do have to record several shows just in one day, and it is exhausting. Well, let me, you know, everybody wants to know, and I know you've talked about this, so forgive me if I'm making you answer the same questions, but you know, honestly, you're so smart and you know so much, and I think that is just I mean, you've just been dazzling people by your wealth and your breadth of knowledge. So how did you become such a brainiac? I know that your mom was a huge influence, and I think it's so funny, by the way, that you got voted most likely to appear on Jeopardy when you were in 8th grade.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that reflects, you know, a couple of advantages that I had. The first of which is just kind of luck of genetics, that my memory has just always been good. You know, things stick with me in a way that's not as easy for other people. And the other one being, you know, the environment I was raised in, being raised by parents that loved knowledge and learning, and passed that love on. But I think
But by the way, Amy, I love the shout out that you gave to your mom. It was so sweet. And is your mom's still alive, right? And
yeah.
is she watching you? Do you talk to her? And I don't know if your dad's still alive as well, but does your mom, like, is she must be so tickled.
Yeah, yeah, she's still with us. She's at a retirement home in Dayton, Ohio, and everybody there is talking about it. It's
Yeah,
pretty
you're the
uh
talk of the retirement home.
indeed, yeah. And yeah, you know, we talk, and you know, my dad has unfortunately passed away, and you know, he was a part of the story too. He actually tried out for Jeopardy when I was a kid, and almost made it on.
Aw.
And you know, definitely shared that love of learning. And I think that's, you know, that part of it, the love of learning, is something that anybody can have, regardless of what you were born with. Like, if you can find that love, then you're just going to learn stuff just by doing what you enjoy, just by reading things that interest you, and seeking it out. And that's definitely, I think, been the key to, you know, a lifetime of doing that is what got me here.
And I love what you talked about with your mom, because I think this is so instructive for parents everywhere, in that, you know, it's not rote memorization. It's kind of unraveling and being curious about the etymology of a word. And I think you used the example. What did you use about Greek, about architecture, about what
Stoic.
Stoic, and
Yeah.
sort of finding the root of that, and kind of looking at how everything is connected, which is so cool too, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think another part of it, that kind of goes along with that is, not being too sort of results oriented. Um, you know, I mean, like, first of all, that was, you know, it was easier for her to do that because I had good grades, you know, all the time, and so, and that sort of thing. But I think it, you know, she really was focused on, it's valuable for itself. It's not valuable to get good grades or get into a college or whatever else. Those are nice side effects, but it's just valuable knowing things.
That's great. Well, I think, you know, again, to always be questioning and always be searching and always being kind of digging a little deeper, which is so awesome. Okay. Let me do some, I'm going through my questions, and then I'm going to get to all of them on social media. You let me know when you have to go, because if you're tired or whatever, Amy, I don't want to keep you too long, but I'm so excited that you're doing this. So, okay. So I know that you psych yourself before every show by listening to Eminem "Lose Yourself." Why that song, and what does that do for you? And tell me kind of why you picked that song, and what it does for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think partly it's just like one of the all-time iconic like pump up songs, you know. So when I it was part of a whole playlist I made that I called Victory Morning, for like the morning when I was getting ready and driving to the studio. But that one, you know, when I was listening to it, like, really struck me how applicable it was to what I was doing, because, you know, Jeopardy is something that you only get one shot at. And it was a chance, especially as it went on, and I was realizing it was a chance to really, excuse me, to really make an amount of money that could change my life. And that, I was never again in my life going to get a chance to, make $120,000 in a day. And this is the only time I would get to do it. And so I really needed to take this opportunity and not think about anything outside of it.
What is your winning so far?
It is $1.1 million, somewhere around there.
That's just awesome. And as I said, you're on a 36 game winning streak. I'm not going to ask you how you did tonight, but we got a lot of questions about the buzzer technique, because you see people sort of, pushing the buzzer, and there's a very specific technique for Jeopardy. Like, you have to wait until the question's read, right? Before you hit the buzzer. Was that hard to kind of get adjusted to?
Yeah, I mean, I'd, kind of researched and read about it. And so I knew, sort of basically how it worked. And I'd been practicing as best I could. I'd have a little pen with me whenever I was watching at home.
Like
but
click ballpoint pen?
Yeah. Yeah, just to get in the habit. But, you don't really know until you're there, because you don't have, the electronic hookup and everything to know. And actually in my first game, the strategy I had gone in with of sort of focusing on it and kind of like anticipating the last syllable, and it just felt like it wasn't working for the first half of the game or so. And for whatever reason, I just sort of decided to kind of stop thinking about it and just kind of go by feel and instinct. And that like worked great, and from then on, I was really good at the buzzer. And that was definitely the thing that I couldn't have predicted. I had no idea whether that would be something I would be good at or not until it happened.
Yeah, and it's just that that you have to get right in the nick of time, and it's like every second really counts. And the other question about strategy is, my husband asked me to ask you this, because you really bet big on Final Jeopardy. You really swing for the fences on that. Is that part of your strategy too? Is that to boost your earnings? Because I guess it also is indicative of how confident you feel, right?
Yeah, but I think that anybody who's playing Jeopardy should feel confident. I mean, if you're on Jeopardy, you are probably more than 50% likely to get any given question. So, in the long run, it should average out to being the right strategy to bet as much as you can. I think, it's hard to do that in the moment. Like, it was hard to get used to betting, a car on a single question.
Yeah.
But, I knew that, like, the math said it was the right thing to do, so I tried to stick with it.
And your Final Jeopardy answer rate percentage, as someone just pointed out, is absurdly high, right? I mean, you've done really, really well. I don't know, do you keep track on what percentage of the Final Jeopardy questions you've gotten correct?
Not really the exact percentage. I knew that, like, especially at the beginning, it was going really well, and then last week it kind of suffered a little bit. But still overall, I knew it was averaging out to pretty good. It's funny, they rolled out the sort of like statistics element of their game in a kind of bigger way than they had before during my run. And so, Ken would be like at the beginning of a show, like saying some statistics of what I had accomplished. And it was always like, really? Wow, that's really good.
Ken seems like such a nice guy. And I think he mentioned that you all have spent quite a bit of time chatting. And, gosh, it's hard because you run out of things to do in the chat section, right? So he's had to interview you so many, many times. But have you enjoyed getting to know Ken?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, our ability to chat is somewhat limited just because he's the host and has to like maintain a certain neutrality. So right. It's, before and after each game, we chat, and then obviously during that segment during. But I really liked him a lot. He's such a good presence on stage. He sets everybody at ease, makes everybody feel comfortable. it's a stressful job because it is a long day, you know, for all the crew and everything that's there. And like we stay until all 5 episodes are done.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, there's kind of anytime something has to be, you know, we have to go back and retape something or anything, that's that much longer before we get to go home. And so he's so relaxed about it all. And it's just really great to have him on stage.
I also like, when he gives the answer, you think, oh, he probably did actually know that, you know, because he's so smart. And a lot of people, obviously, somebody asked if you had met Matt Amodio, right?
Right.
I pronounce his name correctly. Have you met him?
I haven't met him in person, no. We've chatted a bit on Twitter, but yeah.
Aren't you poised to surpass his record?
Yep, that's right. If I win today and tomorrow, well, I'll be tied, and Monday would, in theory, surpass his record. Yeah.
And Ken, I guess his record is 74.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, and that's like, I can't really fathom that now that I've been through it. I mean, it was always impressive, but to realize, you know, at this point during the taping, it felt like I've been playing Jeopardy forever, and yet I'm still only halfway to his streak. Like just the endurance is like I'm just even more impressed by that streak than I once was.
Okay, so let me do some other questions because then I really want to get to everybody who responded on social media. Are there categories what do you feel are your best categories? What is your favorite super specific topic of knowledge you've been able to flex during your run? In other words, do you sometimes see categories and you're like, oh, shoot, I'm not going to know anything about this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like music kind of in general, like I have, you know, some limited areas of knowledge of music, but overall I just don't know it that well. And it's such a broad topic that it's really hard to study for. So that's definitely one. Another one is like celebrity relationships and divorces and things like that. That's just not something I've followed in my life. And it's again, there's a lot of celebrities and they're all related to people, you know. So it's you know, that one is definitely one that I see that and I'm like, let's get that out of the way. But in terms of what,
Oh, I'm glad you don't. That's reassuring.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say that for like ones that I feel stronger in, I think definitely like geography is something I've loved since I was a kid.
Oh, I hate
Yeah,
that.
I just have been fascinated by maps my whole life.
And
Um,
Shakespeare and Broadway plays are both really strong suits for you.
Yeah, I haven't felt like I've done as well on Broadway as I should have. I was, you know, being a theater kid. But yeah, definitely. And I've done a ton of Shakespeare. I've read most of the plays except for some of the histories. And yeah, definitely Shakespeare is a strong suit.
I'm surprised you're not better at music because I feel like music and sort of intelligence are often entwined, right? If you have a musical ability. Did you not play an instrument growing up?
I did, but I just like, you know, it's not that I don't listen to music. I just listen to kind of the same music I've listened to for the last 20 years. And I
Yeah.
haven't, you know, paying attention to stuff outside of that.
All right, let me ask you some other questions. I'm gonna move on to the social questions. By the way, we love that you do a little recap on Twitter after every game. What started you doing that, by the way?
It wasn't my plan. I did it for the first game just because, you know, it was the first one and it was the one I remembered you know, probably the most clearly. And then, excuse me, you know, people seemed to like it. And I realized that it was something that I'd always wanted to see. You know, and maybe other people had been doing it and I just hadn't been aware. But I was like, well, this is content that, you know, I would like to read. And I'm one of the few people in a position to produce it. So I might as well keep going.
Let me ask you about being recognized. First of all, I think some people have asked. Yeah, I know you're a software engineer, so if you taken time off work and your office, all your colleagues must be going crazy.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's a pretty big deal on Slack for sure. Yeah, and you know, it's funny because I changed teams during the course of my run, so like only the VP was really aware of how many days I had missed to go down to LA. So people knew I had done well, but they didn't really know how well I had done until it started airing.
Meanwhile, I read that you actually got mugged at gunpoint or when you were walking in Oakland, which must have been really scary. And on top of all this other stuff that, being on Jeopardy and winning and doing so well, that must have been pretty unsettling to say the least.
Yeah, it was. And, I have a tendency to, in the aftermath of something like that, like say, oh no, I'm fine. It was fine. Nothing, nobody was hurt. And it took me a few days to realize that, yeah, that was a pretty traumatic thing to happen. But, in fact, nobody was hurt. All I lost was stuff that can be replaced. And, that's all, I just have to have that attitude about it. I've lived here years and it's never happened before. So it goes.
I want to mention just trans people are 4 times more likely to be the victims of violent crime. And I know you don't want to make the show too much at all, Amy, about you being trans. And you've said I'm a trans woman and I'm proud of that. Having said that, don't you think your presence and success on the show is providing a real opportunity to educate people? I know that we got so many responses from people who wanted me to express their appreciation to you for just for being a proud trans woman, and representation is so critically important. So that's not lost on you, I'm sure, is it?
No, not at all. I think that like it's the best thing that's come out of this is that all the messages I've heard from both trans people and families and loved ones of trans people, and especially those where people talking about parents and grandparents who like sort of for the first time seem to kind of get it and understand that I'm just a woman and it's not as complicated as they thought. And because Jeopardy reaches an older demographic, that have had a lifetime of experience before trans people became accepted and visible, and so for a lot of them this is kind of their first major exposure to a trans person. So that was definitely something I was very conscious of while we were taping the episodes, that I really needed to be putting my best foot forward the whole time because I was representing a lot of people.
I did a documentary called Gender Revolution a few years ago where I kind of went on a journey to try to help people understand the trans experience by talking to people from a 5-year-old to a 70-year-old. And I think that people just need to educate themselves. And I think that, a lot of trans people don't want to be put in the position where they feel like they have to be the teachers. Having said that, I think just by being who you are is, incredibly enlightening for people who are watching. So thank you for that. Okay, back to some viewer questions. What is your favorite game to play outside of Jeopardy? Are you playing Wordle?
I am playing Wordle. Off and on, I keep missing days, but yeah, I've been playing it for, since everybody started playing it. Yeah. So I do that. I do the New York Times crossword. My girlfriend got me into Rummy Cube. We play that fairly often. Yeah.
Do you play Words with Friends?
No, it's for whatever reason I've never had anybody ask.
Well, I challenge you to Words with Friends at some. Okay. Would you ever consider hosting?
I would. I don't think that I should be asked because I think Ken's great, and as far as I'm concerned, the job is his. Yeah. But if I was to be asked, I certainly would listen to that conversation, no question.
Who was your did you have any other favorite guest hosts that you saw do Jeopardy by any chance, Amy?
Yeah. I didn't actually watch. I watched some of them. Yes. What?
Guest host.
Oh, right. Yes. I I regret to inform you that I didn't actually watch a lot of the guest hosts.
Ah,
So,
ah,
I mean, what
you're gonna
happened,
break my heart.
I'm so sorry. What happened was, to be honest, I've got it on my DVR. They're all still on there, but I couldn't bring myself to watch Alex's last few games.
Oh, yeah.
And then once I'd gotten out of the habit, it just sort of like didn't get back into it as much. So I unfortunately I didn't see a lot of them. It's funny, I went to a kind of family reunion of my girlfriends, and at that point I knew I was going to be on the show, and we mentioned it, and they all launched into a detailed breakdown of who all the hosts and who they liked and who they didn't, and I was like, boy, I really feel like I ought to be able to contribute here, but.
Someone just said awkward. Oh, come on, everybody, lighten up. Okay, I wanted to ask you if you had a chance to meet Alex Trebek, and I was the lucky person, and I got to meet Alex on several occasions and have gotten to know his beautiful wife, Jean. What do you think you would have said to Alex?
Um, I don't know. I never got to meet him, but I did go to a taping once when he was the host. So I kind of got to see a little bit of how he is off camera. And he was just a very down to earth guy by everything I could see. So I don't know. I might have just asked him a sports question or something like that.
Yeah, he was a wonderful person, and obviously much loved. We can only go for 3 more minutes because Jeopardy is starting to will start on the coast. But what are you excited about doing with your winnings? And how do you think that's going to change your life?
Well, I mean, I think definitely excited to travel. My first, or really my second real foreign trip was to Tokyo, and it was right as the pandemic was starting. And I really liked it, and I was like, I should really see more of the world, and then, couldn't. So I'm excited to do that. And the other thing is that I'm gonna, potentially be using this to consider, my career path. Do I want to try?
Think you'll change careers?
I think it's possible. I haven't decided that by any means, but I'm talking to somebody about writing a book, and other opportunities that might be coming out of this. And that's really the beauty of it, is that I now have the freedom to take some time to do that without worrying about the bills getting paid if I choose that route.
Well, it's been such a pleasure to watch you and to cheer you on. I think Jeopardy does start at 7:30 in some markets, as someone mentioned, but I think it starts at 7 in some other markets as well. So we want to make sure people get to watch you kick a little Jeopardy ass again. I'm
And,
just assuming
and
you, because something tells me you might have canceled this Instagram live. It didn't go well. But
I,
no
I
spoilers
can
here.
say that it is a very fun episode. I think fans of mine are going to like this one.
Oh, good. Well, again, Amy, thank you so much for spending some time with me. And before we go, we just want to say congrats. This is really high production value here on Instagram
Yeah,
Live. But it's been a real pleasure talking to you. And again,
like
congratulations and keep up the good work. We hope that you surpass Ken, even though I think Ken seems like an amazing person too. And tell your mom we said, good job. What a great job she did raising a smart, intellectually curious child and adult. So congratulations again, Amy. And thanks everyone for all of your great questions, and keep on winning, Amy.
thanks. I'll do my best.
Okay. Take care. Bye, everybody.